The first time I ever saw the exact number, $187, 432, 16. I remember smiling at it like it was a promise carved in stone. That was my college fund, my future, my escape. My grandmother had started it the day I was born. Every birthday card came with a quiet deposit. Every honor report card meant she'd press a 20 into my hand and whisper, "For your wings." She never went to college herself. Life pulled her into work too early, but she always told me I'd go farther than she ever could. Growing up, I was the responsible one. Straight A's, part-time job, no drama. My younger brother, Jason, was different, loud, magnetic, the kind of boy teachers excused and neighbors adored. When he messed up, it was a phase. When I succeeded, it was expected. I told myself it didn't matter. Until the day I sat in the bank to transfer tuition to my dream university. The banker frowned slightly at her computer screen. That tiny expression changed everything. "I'm sorry," she said gently. "This account was closed 2 months ago." I laughed nervously. "No, it wasn't." She turned the monitor toward me. Balance $0. 00 withdrawal. $187, 432. 16 authorized by my mother. The room felt too small. "That has to be a mistake." "It isn't," she said quietly. I drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe it was temporary. Maybe Mom was in the kitchen when I walked in. Dad sat at the table, reading the newspaper. "Where is my college fund?" I asked. They exchanged a look. Dad folded the paper slowly. "We were going to talk to you." When Mom wiped her hands on a dish towel. "Jason needed help." "With what?" My voice trembled. "He had an opportunity," she said quickly. "An investment. This could set him up for life." My chest tightened. "You took my money." "It's not taking," Dad said sharply. "We're your parents." "That was Grandma's money." "It was family money," Mom corrected. "And Jason needed it more, needed it more." The words echoed in my skull. "What about my tuition?" I whispered. "You can take loans," Mom said. "You're smart, you'll manage." I stood there staring at them and felt something inside me split open. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet tearing of trust I didn't know could break. "Does Grandma know?" I asked. Silence answered me. In that moment, I understood something painful and clear. They didn't just empty a bank account. They chose him, and they expected me to stay silent about it. Jason's opportunity had a name, Second Chance. It was a downtown sports bar with giant screens, neon beer signs, and a glowing sign that flickered red and blue against brick walls. My parents talked about it like it was a miracle. Mom bragged to her friends at church. Dad passed out grand opening flyers at the hardware store like he was campaigning for mayor. Every dollar of my $187, 432, 16 had gone into that place. New floors, custom bar top, liquor license. Sound system, grand opening party with a live band. I took out student loans the same week. They ordered personalized cocktail napkins. Signing those loan documents felt like swallowing broken glass. I told myself it was temporary, that maybe the bar would succeed and they'd pay it back quickly. But deep down, I knew something worse hurt more than the debt. They had never even asked me. The grand opening night, the whole town showed up. Cars lined both sides of Main Street. Music thumped into the summer air. I stood across the street for a moment, watching people laugh under lights paid for with my future. Jason spotted me and waved like nothing was wrong. "Come celebrate," he called. "Celebrate what?" "My replacement." I didn't go in. Instead, I went to the one place that had always felt steady, Grandma's kitchen. She was rolling out dough when I walked in, flour dusting her hands like soft snow. She took one look at my face and set the rolling pin down. "What happened?" she asked. I tried to be strong. I really did, but the words came out cracked and thin. They used it, all of it, for Jason's bar. Her expression didn't explode. It changed slowly, sharply. "How much?" she asked. 187,000. The kitchen went quiet except for the ticking clock. They touched that account. Her voice had dropped low, dangerous. They said it was family money. She straightened her back in a way I had only seen once before, at Grandpa's funeral. I did not work 40 years. and rebuild my life from nothing to finance neon lights and beer taps, she said evenly. I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to say that. I don't want to cause a fight, I whispered. Grandma stepped closer and cupped my face. You didn't cause this, she said. You were robbed. The word hit harder than anything my parents had said. Robbed across town. Music roared and glasses clinked in celebration. People toasted to Jason's bright future. But in that quiet kitchen, something else was rising. Grandma wiped the flour from her hands and reached for her purse. Get your coat, she said calmly. Why? She gave me a look I would never forget. Because if they built that place with your wings, she said, then the whole town deserves to know who paid for it. Grandma didn't storm into Second Chance that night. She waited, and somehow, that made it worse. She visited the bank the next morning. She requested statements, copies, signatures, authorization forms. By the end of the week, she had a neat folder thick with proof. Paper doesn't yell, it doesn't cry, it simply tells the truth. Meanwhile, the bar buzzed with attention, social media posts, 5-star reviews, Jason posing behind the counter like he'd built it from grit instead of someone else's sacrifice. My parents glowed beside him in every photo. I buried myself in orientation emails and loan paperwork. Then came Friday night. The place was packed. After-work crowd, church regulars, high school teachers, half town squeezed into neon light and loud music. Grandma walked in wearing her Sunday coat. Conversation softened the moment people recognized her. She wasn't just anyone. She'd owned the town's bakery for 35 years. She donated bread during floods, paid for funeral meals, helped more families than anyone could count. Jason spotted her and grinned. Grandma. You made it. She smiled back, but it didn't reach her eyes. It's beautiful, she said loudly, turning in a slow circle. Funny how far $187,000 can go. The music didn't stop, but the air shifted. Jason blinked. What? Grandma stepped toward the center of the room, her voice clear and steady. I started a college fund the day my granddaughter was born, she said. Every birthday, every Christmas, every overtime shift. $187,000 meant for her education. My mother's face drained of color. That money, Grandma continued, was withdrawn without her knowledge and poured into this bar. Whispers spread like sparks in dry grass. That's not, Dad began, but no one was listening to him anymore. Grandma opened her folder. I have the statements, she said calmly. Signatures included. The bartender froze mid-pour. A couple near the window stared openly. Someone lowered their phone. Jason looked at my parents. You said. We were going to fix it, Mom whispered. Grandma's voice cut through the tension. You do not fix betrayal by hiding it. The next morning, the town woke up to screenshots, photos of bank records, posts questioning integrity, comments that read built on stolen dreams, shameful, pay her back, business slowed within weeks, regulars stopped coming, church groups found other places, vendors started asking harder questions, and for the first time in his life, Jason looked uncertain. One evening, he came to my small apartment, shoulders slumped. I didn't know, he said quietly. You didn't ask, I replied. The neon glow that once made him shine was fading. By the third month, the sign outside flickered weakly. By the fourth, the doors were locked. The lights went out in Second Chance, but in the darkness they left behind. Something else became clear. The golden child had never built an empire. He had borrowed one, and now the truth had collected its debt. By the time spring returned, Second Chance was nothing more than a dark building with a faded sign. The windows were dusty. The neon lights that once burned bright every night now hung lifeless behind the glass. A small white notice was taped to the door, closed. Until further notice, it never reopened. The town moved on. But it didn't forget. Grandma didn't scream. She didn't gossip. She did something far more powerful. She filed a civil claim. Because the account had been created under her trust, with me as the sole beneficiary at maturity, the withdrawal wasn't just immoral. It was legally wrong. The paperwork my parents had hoped one would question became the very thing that cornered them. Court wasn't dramatic like television. No shouting, no grand speeches, just facts, bank statements, signatures, transfer records, a timeline that told a story without emotion, judgment, full repayment with interest. My parents had to refinance their home, sell the bar equipment, let go of the second car. A percentage of their income was redirected into a reconstructed education fund under strict protection. It wasn't revenge in the fiery sense. It was accountability. Jason got a regular job at a supply warehouse on the edge of town. The flashy shirts disappeared. The late nights stopped. For the first time, he looked less like a golden child and more like someone learning how consequences worked. One evening, he knocked on my apartment door. "I'm sorry," he said. There were no excuses in his voice this time. "I'm paying extra into the fund," he added, "for the interest." I studied him for a long moment. "Good," I said quietly. 4 years later, I stood in my cap and gown at graduation. The restored fund hadn't erased every loan, but it had covered most of it. I had worked part-time, studied relentlessly, earned scholarships on my own. No one could take that from me. When my name was called, I scanned the crowd. Grandma stood in the front row, clapping before anyone else. Tears streamed freely down her face. She didn't wipe them away. After the ceremony, my parents approached carefully. "We were wrong," Dad said, voice rough. "We should have protected you," Mom added. The words came late, but they came. That night, Grandma hosted a small celebration at her bakery. Half the town stopped by with flowers and hugs. She raised a glass of sparkling cider and tapped it gently for attention. "Revenge," she said, smiling at me, "isn't about ruining someone." She paused, letting the room quiet. "It's about telling the truth loudly enough that no one can bury it." She turned to me, pride shining in her eyes. "You flew anyway." And I realized then the sweetest revenge wasn't watching them fall. It was rising in front of everyone who once doubted me, and knowing the whole town understood exactly what it had cost.